And we develop affordable housing. And we have submitted an application to the County of Lebanon for Act 137 funds for the Quinton apartments that we're proposing.
And do you, as far as this project, have you gone through the township, and have they given it a green light, or has that been done yet, or how's this? What's the process?
We have the township has to provide a conditional use for it when the final plans come in, and we're just now applying for the funds through PHFA, and again for the second time. We were here last year with you guys. So we have been working closely with Louis Hurst at Alden Place, and we met, the first thing we did, meet with Steckbeck Engineering, which was the engineering firm for West Cornwall Township. That's how we were directed. So we communicated the information to those folks. And then we also recently, after meeting with Julie Cheney and Song Kim, reached out again to the West Cornwall supervisors. And Louis Hurst himself did that. We thought it was a little early to begin public meetings, and he gave information to Mr. Fitzgibbons, their attorney, to be given to the supervisors. And I brought along the information that we gave to them. We spoke to the ranks and things like that. So we have not attended West Cornwall meetings, but we think it's early for that, frankly. And because they have this conditional use process, we believe that we would spend plenty of time with those folks.
Okay. Last year, when we approved it, I had some criticism that we were approving something for them
Right.
without their giving the go-ahead from their side. And so I understand there's a process here, but I didn't know if in the past year, if anything had been moved along, in that direction.
Yeah, we haven't been hiding it, and Louis works so closely in that area. That's
because we
weren't avoiding this, and I did hear.
We're not imposing our will on them. We're just saying that if they approve it, we're okay with if we vote to do this again.
I think it's important that we clarify it. And I won't say that the press got it wrong, but the headline, as I recall, said Lebanon County Commissioners approve housing in West Cornwall Township, which is not within our authority.
What we really communicated to Mr. Fitzgibbons and then eventually to the supervisors was in order to change the perceptions. Our rents are about $737 and up to over $1,000 a month. So in order for someone to be able to afford that, they're working class folks, and that's what we tried to make really clear, to allay any concerns the supervisors have about the kind of stigmas that are attached to what's called affordable housing. So setting aside 2 units specifically for homeless veterans, but we've been working with the VA and have support letters from the VA to try to house more veterans through the VASH voucher program.
Thomas, I hope that you'll take this as constructive criticism or input. I saw an exceptionally well done application, and yours left me asking questions that were not answered and or information that, for me at least, was a little misleading. I had to do some of my own research, the one being that it wasn't supposed to be any good for agriculture, yet it's been in agriculture all these years. And in fact, the for sale sign was in the middle of a farm field. And if I look at this, it's in a commercial district, so there would have to be almost spot zoning to put this in. It would be attached to commercial around it. A section of, I think it's 419 and 72. Or it says southwest in your application, it's really southeast. So I found that as an inaccuracy. Another thing that bothered me was the number of homes that were quoted or housing that was needed. A total amount was given, but it wasn't saying how many of those applicants were from Lebanon County. And it was from, it could have been other states, New York, wherever. And so, you know, I want to know what kind of homelessness we have in Lebanon County. It just wasn't enough information for me, and so I had to contact our planning department or housing authority. I shouldn't have to do all this work. It should all be in that
I understand,
application.
yeah.
So I'm giving you to this to you as hopefully constructive feedback, so that if you get approval from the township and you come back, that you're prepared with those answers.
Get your sense of detail, but that under the zoning such as it is now, that is a permitted use. That was recently changed from C2 to C1, and R2 density is now permitted. As for the direction, I'm really sorry about that. That's an oversight on my part. As for the homeless populations, we can't say you have to be from Lebanon. Ultimately, that's how that works out. But we just got a support letter to put in the application, and I know you guys are familiar with that extensive process. But Jubilee Ministry has, now those aren't necessarily veterans, but they have a lot of folks every night, and that is a continuing problem. The 2 units specifically we set aside will be reserved for homeless population.
The people who preceded you, I specifically asked a question. Well, actually, Commissioner Phillips said, do you have future plans? They said yes, and I asked, was it only in the city or was it also including the county? They said their preference is the county, so we do have others looking at county. So I just share all this with you so that maybe when you come back, it can be a little more fine-tuned.
We sure hope. It was certainly our intent to be concise. I apologize.
Handing 2 units set aside for veterans and 2 units for homeless, right?
Well, they are set aside for homeless, and they don't have to be veterans specifically.
I appreciate the questions you asked, because they're all pertinent questions to this request. Penn State Hershey Medical Center, 322 is the most fertile ground in Pennsylvania, and that is usable farmland. I'm chairman of the Zoning Commission in West Cornwall Township. I did not know it went from C2 to C1. I don't know who pulled that, but I get questions to ask. You ask about putting 62 units in Cornwall 11 School District, and I'll tell you as a former superintendent of schools, that's probably the last thing I want to see, because that is not a strong tax base for the kids that are going to be put to that schools. And it's not that Cornwall 11 School District would be against it, but it's going to be one more strain on the school district. In my opinion, this is going backwards. This request should get the support of the local community and then come to you.
Well, that's why they've had a year to develop that.
And he
I
has not
perfectly
gone.
agree with that. I really do. I really.
He has not come to, he has not, I go to the meetings. He has not come to us and said, here's what we want to do. There are plenty of places in West Cornwall that he could do that kind of thing. If they come off of 72 into that site, that's going to be a huge traffic problem. That is not built for a turnoff there. Back where George put the West Cornwall Township Medical Center, they made him put a turning lane in there. There will be no turning lane here, and if people are going to be going in and out of those apartments off 72, I turn that road every day. I'm telling you, it's just not suited for what's there now. And I know that the rental place is probably going to come in from the other end, but I can't imagine having more cars driving back off the 72 from there. And I'm not a traffic study person, but I'm giving you my humble observations. Because just word of this, my phone's been ringing off the hook. My phone has been ringing off the hook. I'm telling you that the people of Quentin, that's one group. But the people that bought the $250,000 homes that this is going to abut to in Alden Place are going to have a serious issue with this. And I know it's the same developer. It surprises me, it confounds me as to why he would want to put this at that location. I can't imagine that the people of West Cornwall Township are going to, would be happy if somebody was breaking ground for any apartment complex. And I really don't care if it's garden apartments, terrace apartments, whatever. That's a beautiful area. It's an agriculture area. You see it as you're coming down off the mountain. There's beautiful homes down there. There's a community center. Then Riders Way. Now you have those big rental centers and the gas station. But I mean, it's apartments there are just, in my opinion, not suitable. but I don't make the laws. But I just wanted you to know that some of the things I heard here, thank you for your questions. I was giving you a quiet standing ovation because they were good questions. They were the kinds of questions that I've been getting over the phone for, this last week. So, thanks a lot, and I appreciate your time, and I know you got a difficult.
Applicant you have is from Community Basics Incorporated, and they are proposing the new construction of 62 units of affordable housing in West Cornwall Township on the southeast corner of 419 and Route 72. Again, this is a very similar application to what they presented last year. Both of these entities, by the way, were unsuccessful with PHFA, which is why they're back again for another round, which is common. It takes a few attempts sometimes. So the 62-unit construction is estimated at $18,333,467. They are requesting a grant of $250,000 from the Affordable Housing Fund. Last year they requested $150,000. This year requesting $250,000. The construction costs are estimated have gone up. And Tom Eisman was here yesterday and had an opportunity to answer your questions there, I think. So
Again, as a loan similar to the...
right, a non-performing loan, right?
Yep. Okay, that's your pleasure.
Well, I'll make a motion to grant those funds to basic community homes, but with an opportunity to comment and when we get a second.
Sure.
I'll second the motion, but I'd also like to comment.
Certainly. We have a motion and a second on the floor, and we'll start.
I did find numerous things that I wasn't quite sure. For instance, just the direction southeast of 72 versus southwest. The application, I thought, was maybe not as detail-oriented as the other application, and could be interpreted many different ways. And so I do have reservations about this particular application.
I don't have any reservations about the application. My concern with this particular request is that last year when they came before this board, they made a request, and the message went out to the community, and particularly to West Cornwall Township and the governing body out there and the residents, that the Board of County Commissioners sanctioned this project and approved it right for these folks to build this project in that community, and that is something that we do not have the authority to carry out. Each of our municipalities has their own building codes and planning and zoning requirements and so on, and only West Cornwall Township can grant that right to construct this project. So I'm prepared to vote to approve these funds, but with a strong understanding that this project will be completed or built only with the approval of the folks in West Cornwall Township.
There has been a full year to prepare for this application. And that being said, protocol would have had it that West Cornwall Township should have been allowed to approve or disapprove this first before it ever came to the county commissioners. And so I also think that that step was flawed in that we're voting before they do. So that's just another concern that I have. It's not like they didn't have plenty of time to prepare.
Well, my understanding is that that's a customary process, that you don't go through the expense of and Jamie, maybe you can elaborate on that, but that this isn't that unusual. My thinking on this is that as long as we're sure and we've been told that this is an appropriate use of affordable housing money for such a project, I wouldn't want to stand in the way of an opportunity for a municipality or a township to have an $18 million project if that's what they want to do. But again, as Bill said, we are not imposing this on them. We are opening a door in terms of an application to get these funds to make this happen if the local municipality wants to do that. But if we would vote no, we're denying them that opportunity should the application be approved. So as long as we're on sound ground with the use of that money for this application, I think it's a, you know, a good step for them to, and then they have the option to approve it or deny it.
Yeah.
So
And
that's,
just to reemphasize, Commissioner, projects such as this, it's customary to line up your financing first before you go to the expense of planning and zoning and having those things are expensive. Engineers and attorneys and so on cost a lot of money. So any project of this magnitude, I think this is the typical process. There certainly could have been probably some communications with West Cornwall, but they would not normally apply for permits to build and so on before they knew they had their financing in line.
and I think it's worth noting that we did invite the supervisors to the meeting yesterday, and they declined to attend. So that may have given us a little bit more of an inclination, but without that, I don't want to impede their, you know, options in terms of an $18 million project.
I'd like to just follow up once again.
Certainly.
You know, I think that $250,000 out of $18 million is a very small amount, and our blessing on that money would not make a difference on them moving ahead. That being said, I think that, again, their timing was could have been better.
So noted. Any other comment or question? John?
Just one, where does the fund stand now?
I think it's 1.9 million.
And that's funded by proceeds from a fee on?
A fee on
transactions?
Recorder
instruments
deeds.
recorded in the recorder deeds office, right, and it's,
Vote on the motion. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no.
Aye.
We have a split vote, 2-1.